Everybody, welcome. I am doing a 52-week challenge this year, and today starts week 1. It's the first week of January 2020, if you can believe it. And believe it or not, here it is. And I am doing a 52-week challenge, as I mentioned. I wanted to encourage myself and just start developing content for my YouTube channel, and also for you to learn along with me on a challenge that will help hopefully produce a full-length book, a nonfiction book this time around. My heart is in fiction, which I will mention over and over again. But I wanted to do this nonfiction book that's going to be a full-on project of researching and writing as I go along, and also sharing with you some of the content, but also more sharing with you the process that I'm doing to make it happen. And one of the first things that I'm going to be talking about this week is really to get organized. Next week, we'll be talking about, what kind of book you're going to write, how long it is, and other stuff about honing in on what it is you want to do. But this week is all about getting organized and clearing out the clutter. There aren't any cleaning challenges or anything like that. You can go visit Emily Lay if you'd like to do something like that. She has a challenge and a wonderful planner and stuff like that that I follow for those kinds of things. But I wanted to do a book organization as far as the things that you're going to need throughout this year that you should already try to get lined up and to help you. And that's going to be so important, because there are going to be days and weeks when you're like, I don't want to do this. This is not working out. The flow is not going the way I want to. And going back to some of those things that you organized this very first week will help you kind of stay the course and stay dedicated to what you're doing, what your project is, and will help you give you steam as you plug along. So I have 5 key areas for organization when it comes to writing a book that you want to think about. And remember to follow along on my Instagram for smaller, shorter tips throughout the weeks and months for this year. And also read the longer blog posts on TraceeGarner.com, where you can kind of read all of what I'm saying here if you'd rather read than listen to the audio. And there'll also be some extra things in there, some extra nuggets, and I'll also expound on the points that I make in the videos. So that's 3 different ways YouTube, really 4, because I'll post these videos also on YouTube and do more inspiration and memes and graphics on there too. But 4 ways for you to engage. Pick 1 or pick 4 that you like, and I'll also be seeing what I can add to enhance the learning and enhance driving home the points of each component that I'm going to be talking about. So let's get organized. So the first thing for organization is just dedicated space, time, and location to cut out distractions, to help you focus on what you're doing. Do you have a desk or a place or spot in the basement or wherever, home office, that you are going to dedicate to your writing? It is so important to have a consistent place, a place that's ready, not a place that you have to get ready, that you have to clean up, move things around, wipe the gravy spills on your dining room table or other things that mess up your papers, and, being able to really work as soon as you get there. You don't want to have to move stuff around. That is so annoying, to clean up a space and to fix things before you get started, because sometimes you're exhausted just getting there and you want to really be able to get right to work as soon as you get to your space. It'll almost be like you are walking into a zone, and this is my zone. This is where writing happens. This is my home office. which I will, give you. I think I have some footage that I can show of what it looks like. I used to share this office with my dad, who's now deceased, but he had one side and I had the other side, but I have always written facing away from the door. The door is behind me, so whatever's going on, I can also close it. And I'm very fortunate. I realize that that is not always possible to have that. But is there anywhere you can go? You have to think outside the box a little bit. Is there, a little place you can put up a curtain? Or, just have maybe a door, or go in the basement and have a nook, or even an office closet. People are using office closets more and more, especially people recording their own audiobooks. They have cleared out a closet, or at least pushed the clothes enough where they can get a little desk in there and a little computer, and have a way to just close everyone out, all the noise, and hopefully most of the clutter that you don't see. So I have designated space every time I come to my computer, which is what I'm filming on too, using a Logitech camera that I purchased on Amazon. Wherever I am here, I just know that this is where the magic is going to happen. I do have a TV in this office, but I usually have it off, or I'll have it on mute when I'm writing, because as a news junkie, I'm always looking over to the TV and saying, what's going on, what's happening, everything's breaking news, every moment, every day, every hour. And I think that that can be very distracting, but I only recently started doing that in the last 3 years. I used to have a TV on with it actually unmuted and listening and just looking over, what's going on? So, you really have to discipline yourself and create calm and quiet. You can have focus music on, you can have white noise. There's lots of things that are free on YouTube that you can use, and those can help you, focus. I tried focus music. I like it for a time, not for the whole, not if I was in here for like 4 hours, would I enjoy listening to that for the entire time. But just to start, in a while, I really don't even notice that it's there. So you can try that, try different things. When I'm writing romance, especially when I'm writing, someone being romantic, or I don't really have love scenes because I write clean fiction. But when I, want to feel romantic, I listen to songs, romance songs, Luther Vandross and R&B. Or those are the favorite things that I like. But also, I have discovered music when I want to write fast paced, because I write romantic suspense. Sometimes I want to feel like I'm racing against time. So I have a couple songs that I like that are really fast paced. And every time I listen to them, there's something about it that just pumps me up. And it's actually just a YouTuber who's created some tracks that you can buy. I don't buy them unless I'm making book trailers, but you can buy them and download them. But I just listen to them on YouTube without purchasing them, and bookmark them for future reference. So after you have your space and you have your time and you have a designated location where you're going to create and where you're going to be productive, you want also a place for the ideas. Do you have a notebook? Are you going to use pen and paper? Or are you only going to do things on your computer? Or are you going to dictate memos to yourself by talking? Sometimes if I don't have paper or pen, I'll use my Evernote and type into that on my phone. I have the app on my phone, and I'm mostly a computer person, but I do love writing short passages, not long things, because sometimes if they're too long, if it's like a whole chapter that I've written out, that would never be me. I would never write out a whole thing. I have written a book when I was traveling in my 20s. I remember going to Oregon for an event, and I actually wrote a lot of my book on a legal pad. I wanted to try it out, see how it was. And this was only book 2 or 3, so I really hadn't defined what my style was. I now know that my style is just to write a note or a line, and then really focus on writing the full thing on the computer, typing on the computer. That's my thing. I love typing. I love hearing the clicking of the keys, and I enjoy listening to even that kind of pounding it out. There's something about that aesthetic that really resonates with me. But I did try to write an entire book on a legal pad. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And when I got home, I really couldn't make sense of where the beginning was, where the end was, and what I had done. I just had a mess. I did eventually find out how to straighten it out. And that was fine. But it was very frustrating to have all that voluminous stuff written down and then not be able to make heads or tails of it. And I can understand my own handwriting. I have very good handwriting, but just didn't really, maybe need to number the pages. And sometimes when you don't write linearly, that can be hard for some of us. I don't write linearly. I don't write in a straight line, but so it can be difficult. If I can't figure out something, I'll usually highlight it and put more about this here and just keep going. And so that will be a way for me to, that it stands out because I highlighted it. I wrote it in bold letters and it doesn't fit the rest of the text. And so it's a note to me to either research something or just come back to it after I've thought about it for a little while. So how are you going to capture the ideas? How are you going to keep everything together? I really have no problem with Post-it notes and things, but those get lost. They stick on the bottom of other things and you're looking for it. And so a notebook or something that you can keep will be one of the wonderful things to help you get organized. And that will be really important for you to do going forward. But it's going to take time. I didn't always write in a notebook. I didn't always keep everything together. I used to keep things all over the place. And I still have a few notebooks that I am like, I need to move this or I need to cut it and paste it, actually cut it out and tape it into the main notebook or something because it just gets kind of overwhelming. And things are everywhere, and that can really impede your writing. So remember, the whole gist of this is to get organized so that your flow and your writing and you can focus on getting it done rather than chasing ideas, chasing notes, and things that will impede you and cause you to be frustrated. I also write a lot about frustration in this blog post that goes along with this video about how that is a time waster and how that ruins things. And when you're organized, you're not frustrated. You are able to focus on the task at hand and get going. The third thing that we want to talk about as far as getting organized is what are you going to use as far as inspiration? How are you going to find inspiration? Will you read some passages of other books similar to what you're working on? Will you listen to people and some of the leaders in the writing industry for the subject matter? How are you going to be fortified in your goal throughout this year to meet your end result? Do you have a muse? What is the muse? The muse is simply a person or a personified force who is the source of inspiration for a creative artist. That is just something that inspires you. I have never quite figured out muse for myself. I think it's more atmosphere and being in the room and being, alone and quiet. I've never really needed a lot of outside influence, but I'll also talk about that as a way to get organized and have that go-to group of people that you're not feeling it, and maybe they can help you get better or give you some ideas or work out things. So you need inspiration. You're going to need to listen to someone or something, and you need to find whatever that is. So you're not searching for it when you desperately need it. You want to have it in line, in place. It could be a recording. It could be somebody, a family member that you talk to who's very cheerful. I used to have a best friend that sadly passed away last year, and I would say, I need a pep talk, and they knew exactly what that meant. And we'd spend maybe 20, 30 minutes kind of building each other up, not just her building me up, but me also telling her, she's wonderful too, and really meaning that. And also, sometimes I guess I do have a muse. I read a lot of my own work because I just can't. I know this is going to sound really bad and really conceited. I'm not a conceited person. I think I'm pretty humble, but it sounds bad to kind of read your own work, but you're reading that as a way to see how far you've come. And if you can't admire how far you've come and what you've done in the past, who can? So when I read over things, I'm like, wow, who wrote this? And in a way that's like, oh my God, I can't believe you did all that. And so you forget that you struggled maybe through that last project or through that last thing. So even if this is your first book, think on something when you were really proud of yourself or where you're really happy. And those feelings sometimes will motivate you. Like, that was a great feeling. I felt a sense of accomplishment. I want to get back to that. And if I finish this project, I will feel those same feelings, very euphoric, very warming, a warming sensation, kind of very filling your brain with like, wow, you did that. So maybe write down, a time so that you can refer to later of when I did this, I felt this, and just kind of revisit all of those feelings. Every time I finish a book, I have a good cry. I'm like, I can't believe it. It's over. I'm grieving, saying goodbye to the characters, but I'm also rejoicing and being so happy in the fact that I did it. I did it again. And when you write many books, you actually feel like you don't have another one in you. But as you slowly keep going, you realize that you have more. Think about people who've written 100 books. Find your most favorite author who's very prolific, and see what they've done. Watch one of their master classes, watch their YouTube videos, see what they have to say, and those will fortify you and give you inspiration to keep going. The next thing is supporters. We all have a group of supporters and cheerleaders. I mentioned my bestie that I have and also what I do, but I'm looking at live beings or other people, outside groups, writers groups. I have always wanted to start a writers conference call, and I'm still thinking about how I can make that happen, but just writers getting on a call, either having prayer or even talking about some of the events that they're going to and what's going on, and kind of being resourceful. And there are writers conference calls, I'm sure, that occur, even now. But, what can you do or what can you find or uncover that, will give you a type of support system? I think inspiration is different than support. 3 and 4 of what I'm talking about can almost seem very similar, but inspiration is more about, getting yourself to the finish line and encouraging yourself. And then supporters are more about, for me, outside influences of things you can get into to help you move forward and also to gather ideas and input from. I started a writers group in I think it was 2019, last year. I can't remember if it was the end of 2018 or the beginning of 2019. I started a writers group, and I really didn't want to do it, but my friend asked me to do it and to kind of be this leader for it. I really didn't want to. I felt like, in some ways, I felt like being the leader for it gave everybody else a pass to kind of bail and me holding the bag. So one of the things that is not great about the writers group is that when the leader gets sick or is not able to make it, people kind of fizzle out and don't come. And sometimes I didn't come either for whatever reason. But I was talking to another person who leads a writers group, and they were saying you have to show up no matter what. Obviously, she didn't mean when you're sick and you obviously can't come or you're in the hospital, but she was saying that even if you don't feel like it, the consistency is really important. So the next time I'd probably do a writers group, I'd probably have 2 co-leaders. That way, no matter what, somebody has to go, or even if you alter, you could alter, times that I went last time, you go this time, or we'll both come, or what have you. But, being in charge of a writers group is a little bit of work. It's not so much that it's work, it's just that you have the full responsibility of being the one to show up, and you're saying that you're going to lead the writers group. But one thing I was really glad about in starting the writers group was that it was like minds. Everybody was in different stages of their writing. Some were releasing books, Some had never released a book. And that worked really well because you could draw ideas from people who were ahead of you, and you could also get ideas from people who were still in the process. And we would try to do 20-minute writing sprints at a time. And usually within a 2-hour period, we could do about 5 or 6 writing sprints. And then we would talk in the middle after the 20-minute sprint was up. You're supposed to be quiet during the 20-minute sprint, but nobody was ever quiet. But for the most part, we did get the 20 sprints. We get 20-minute sprints done, and then we would talk. And it was that talking that was the part that I liked, because writing is very isolating. It's a lonely sport that you do. You're just by yourself. And so sometimes talking with other writers who understand your woes. And I find the same thing talking with other people with disabilities. That has been another thing that I added to my life, or I actually was a friend with someone who knew a group of other women with disabilities. We're all African Americans, and I had never really had that. And every time I get around them, the same as when I get around my writer friends, it is a wonderful uplifting time. You can commiserate with people who understand where you're coming from, and you can also troubleshoot your stories, whatever you're working on that's a kink, or you're having a difficult time with a certain passage. You could read it aloud if your group is acceptable to that, and you just want to know the rules and what is happening and what is important when you're in a writer's group. Don't go asking for advice and it's not the critique time. So our group is very laid back. You have to trial and error sometimes. You're going to have to find a group that is right for you. But it's going to be really good and really beneficial. You may even get kicked out of a group every now and then. There are a lot of groups that have a lot of different strange hangups, and I've heard some really interesting horror stories. But this is the second time I've been in a group. I was in a group when I first started writing, maybe about 20 years ago. That group was a little bit harder, only because I was the only one published. And I think it was 5 of us. And, so I had been published at least for 2 books, and the others hadn't. So I kind of felt a little at an unfair advantage. And I also felt that everyone was looking to me for lots of input, lots of critiques, and lots of ideas, because I had already been traditionally published, which was a big deal to them, before self-publishing really took on. And, being traditionally published, having gotten a contract, was a big deal to them. But I also felt a little not used up, but just kind of out of ideas and out of things to share, because the idea of being published was bigger to them than it was. It was a big deal to me, don't get me wrong, but it was just the holy grail for them. And that can be kind of weird and awkward. And I'm still writing, I'm still getting critiqued, but I've reached the holy grail of what they wanted to reach. So just make sure you're not unequally yoked in your writers groups. Everybody doesn't have to be at the exact same level, but it would have been great to have another maybe published author in the group, so it wasn't just me, just one, and then, 3, 4 others that weren't. So try to find a balance in the group. The next thing is the supporters. The learning tools. So we've talked about the space, time, and location for you to get your ideas and to be in the zone. Capture ideas and refer to them either through pen and paper or computer dictation dragging. The inspiration, where are you going to get that from? How are you going to invite the muse? Who is the muse? And how are they going to come and appear for you to use and for you to go forth with? And then your outside supporters, outside groups, a writer's conference call, even seminars, workshops. And also don't forget to check out what's going on at your libraries. Get on the newsletter, see what kinds of things you go to. This is also how you start networking. You want to meet other authors and you want to find out what they're doing, and you want to meet people that are in this full time. There's nothing wrong with going to a seminar or workshop. It's free at the library or wherever, even at the bookstore, and then hanging around and talking with other people and seeing what's available. What are they doing? What groups do they have, and where are they going? and where are they hanging out. But it's important to also, with that, you can spend a lot of time researching and going to things and not getting any actual writing done. So be careful of that, that you're not too one-sided. You're just hanging out all the time with writers, but you're not actually, writing your book and working on your own project. The last thing is just learning and tools. I realized that taking a class to learn some of the technology is going to be another time suck, but hopefully if you're not a fast typist or you don't know computers well, you need to really understand how to use technology, because remember, again, it's the frustration that is going to keep you from writing and reaching your goals. So the more you become frustrated, the further and further away you will get from actually the writing time. If you don't know how to use a computer, open a Word document, save your document. A terrible story about one of my students who relied completely on her husband to send her work to me. And I just thought, this is just one extra step. You know how to open a Word document, you know how to type, and you know how to save, but you didn't know how to open email and send attachments. And I realized that, if you have somebody who can do it, why not just ask them? But what if that person drops dead tomorrow? Nobody wants to think about that, about what kind of lurch you'll be in when the person who knows all about the technology is not there to support you. What if her entire forward progression on her goal stops because she doesn't know how to send attachments? You have to learn at some point. Why wait to be forced to learn? Or if you don't know where the documents are or how he saved them, or if he used an external drive, you have to know some of these things in order to be productive and in order to, if you wanted to send something to me right now and get it critiqued, would you know how to do that? Would you know how to upload something to either, a Dropbox or a big file sharing program that everybody's using and you have no idea how to do that? That is a very simple example, but you would be surprised how much people are unwilling to learn just because of a little fear. And YouTube and so many things, I think it's Skillshare, a class portal, Teachable, Udemy, all of these programs teach you how to do these different things. And really, basic computer skills are available free through YouTube tutorials. And also at your local senior center, if you happen to be over a certain age, you can get free classes and one-on-one instruction. And if you have a teenager, I'm sorry, you need to ask them to teach you either a few minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Say, I want you to walk me through this, this, and this, so I can be better. And some of them are really wonderful. Yes, of course, there are some that are impatient and don't have time, but some of them will be great at teaching you how to do something and making you better off and more prepared to do this technology. Those are 5 areas where you can get organized and be better at your project and your writing goals. Get down to business as soon as you sit down in the zone, in the spot that you've designated. One important thing that I didn't really talk about, because it really gets into deeper details about people's dynamics and the dynamics of people's families, and that is still a part of getting organized to me, but it's really about communication. And have you talked with your family and said that I'm going to be starting this project of writing a book, and it is really important to me? And that means I need all of you, whoever is in your family or in your house that can potentially distract you from writing, I need you to help me help myself and to give me the time. This is the time I'm going to be writing, 6 to 9 p.m. every single night after dinner, or in the morning after you go to school or what have you. Whatever the time is going to be, I think you need to make that clear to both spouses and children, and anyone else that is in your house. When they see you working on something consistently, they will buy into that. If they don't see you, they see you don't care, or it looks like you're sitting in your room eating popcorn and you're really just watching The View, then people can't take that seriously. And I understand, I'm exaggerating a little bit with some of these examples, but hopefully the point is there in that When a person sees you doing something, you're disciplined, you're working on your craft all the time, and this is how you want it to go, and you're really dedicated, they will see like, wow, he or she is really serious, and I am in a position to support them and to help them. What I would ask you is that if you can't communicate with your family about things, and there's a lot of people that feel like they can't because that person isn't willing, or that person doesn't understand, or that person thinks what you're doing is a waste of time. I'm so glad I've never had that in my family. They've always believed in my ideas, but I realize some people don't. You have to ask yourself, what else can you do to make this happen? Can you go to a coffee shop? There are a lot of wonderful co-working spaces in the area, all over the country, depending on where you live. And you can get a desk. You can have a desk for a small monthly fee, and you'd be surprised how cheap some of them are. And you can rent that space, or you can go to a coffee shop. You can go to a bookstore and be in the corner. It just really depends. So if you have to get out because your family or whoever is in your house doesn't understand what you are doing, and you really want to make this happen, you will find ways to make it happen. You will be very selective and careful. And the other thing that I actually listened to Masterclass with Sarah Blakely, who is the creator of Spanx. And I had a similar idea when I was 20 something and I was writing my first book. I didn't tell a lot of people. And in her masterclass, I was surprised to learn that she didn't tell a lot of people she was developing something. People around her just knew that she was working on a big project, but she never told them what it was. And so sometimes when I would tell people, after I was published that I was working on a book, they would ask me all the time, how's the book coming? How's the book coming? And there were days where you're like, the book sucks. I don't want to talk about it right now. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And so you have to be careful. If they didn't know you were working on a book, you would just be working on something, and they would then invite people to ask you about it all the time, because there are a lot of doubters. And that was the main reason not to tell someone about something, is because of the doubt. The doubt can then infiltrate your mind and your spirit, and you have to be careful about setting parameters around your ideas and what's in your heart and what you think about. Nobody thought that I would ever write. I didn't even think that I would write, 2 books beyond what I wrote. Even when I was learning to drive, I drive with hand controls. I was like, you know what? If I could just go to the store and get something for my mother or father, pick up a prescription, I will be happy. And now I'm driving all over the place. The longest I've driven is 4 hours. And for someone, like me with muscular dystrophy, that is a big deal. I drove us to Virginia Beach, and I was just here thinking, can I just drive to Giant in my favorite grocery store and get a prescription or pick up some medicine or get some aspirin or something just to help out and just to do what I needed to do. And then I'm driving all over God's creation. So you never know what is going to be in the future. You can only prepare for right now. You can only write this one book right now and keep going. And you can choose to keep your ideas and your thoughts close to the vest by not telling anyone. I really recommend that, at least for a few months. If you want to tell, you got to tell. You could have an accountability partner. That's something that I didn't mention in getting organized, but it's something that, if you feel that you can, that will help you and be beneficial to you, that is something that has never really been a big deal to me, is to have someone to call and to say, to check in, to say, did we meet our goals? As I get older, I could see it being something, but I'm still not really concerned. I have my writers group. I haven't found a new cheerleader yet, but I still have ways in order to be accountable to myself and to set deadlines and things like that. So my point in all of this is that you never know what you can do for one. You shouldn't let other people infiltrate your spirit and set about doubt. And remember that people are only using their own frame of mind and their own personal experience for whatever it is they want to do. If they haven't ever done something, then of course they usually believe others can't do something too. So you have to really examine where people are coming from and really think about, how that plays out in their lives. And just because it's for them, they can't do it, or they don't have a desire to do it, that doesn't mean that that's the same case for you. I hope you are going to get organized. I hope you're going to take the time out. Don't forget to visit the blog post to see this all laid out before you. Don't forget to leave a comment and tell me if this was helpful to you. And also to give me any comments and questions you have about topics I can expound on for you or dig deeper into. But this is a start. Get organized. We have 51 more weeks to go. We're going to be writing a book together, and we are going to explore all the ideas and avenues of how you do that, how I've done that for now book 14 and 15. And you are going to be successful because you are laying a solid foundation to make it all happen this year, 2020. I'll see you next week for more on our 52-week Write a Book with Tracee challenge. And I can't wait. Have a great day and take care. Bye-bye.